Hello everyone, how are you all? I hope everything going great. Today's session is to cover up the chapter of offences and penalties. This chapter that you fear the most because practically also it is not that easy to remember penalties for every single offence that we have studied under GST. I have tried my best to simplify the chapter for you, but yes, still there is going to be some learning involved in this particular chapter. Let us start. The chapter is as such B category. Normally out of every 2 in 3 attempts it is asked, and if asked it is asked for 5 marks at least. So yes, the weightage is around 5 marks in exam. You cannot even skip it. You can take that risk that okay, I will leave it in option, but still I would not recommend skipping because there are some areas identified which are asked more. So at least we can try and cover those areas for examination. Offences and penalties starting from section 122, penalty for certain offences. Now this is a very simple section saying that for all of these offences, there is a big list of all the offences. If you commit any of these offences, the penalty is same. The penalty is simply whatever is the amount of tax involved or 10,000. Whichever is higher. Now remember, whatever we study is under CGST Act, which means this same to same penalty will also be levied under SGST Act, hence the total penalty will become double. Okay ma'am. So let us say there was some sale of 1 lakh rupees on which 18% GST is chargeable, which means 18,000 was the GST figure. Now this 18,000 is the total tax involved. Okay, if I am calculating according to CGST Act, then out of 18,000 what will be CGST? 9,000. And we will say 10,000, whichever is higher. The answer comes as 10,000, which means 10,000 under CGST Act and plus 10,000 under SGST Act. My total penalty is going to be 20,000. But let us say this was 28%, which means 14,000 under CGST and 14,000 under SGST. So now I will say 14,000 under CGST or 10,000, whichever is higher. So the answer comes here is 14,000. Now 14,000 into 2, because this is under C and then under S, 28,000 becomes my total penalty. So always remember, whenever we are studying any penalty under these chapters, this is all under CGST Act that we are studying. So for IGST, you will always have to double the penalty. Okay ma'am, what is the list? We've created a very simple mnemonic said strict food. Strict food. Now strict is twice and food. Means STRICT, STRICT, and then food. For all of these offences, we have a single penalty only. Amount of tax involved or 10,000 under CGST Act, whichever is higher. Okay ma'am, what is strict food? Let us see. S for supplies goods, services or both with without or with false invoice. Basically, you are supplying but you are not issuing invoices, or your invoices are fake. Okay. After that, we are saying suppresses turnover. Why would I suppress turnover? Because lower the turnover, lower is going to be my tax liability. So SS done. Then T. T says fails to deduct TDS or deduct less. And then same, fails to collect TCS or collect less. After that, R. Now R says registration. Under registration, we have three things. First, you are liable under section 22 or 24. You are liable to take registration. The threshold limit is crossing, but you are not taking registration. So fails to obtain registration when liable. Second, while taking registration, you are furnishing false information. So maybe you have given wrong address, wrong Aadhaar proof, whatever information is required while obtaining registration, that you are giving false. Or we are saying issues invoice using others registration number. I have not taken GST registration only. Now what I am doing, whenever I am doing any business, I am issuing any invoices, I am using someone else's registration number to issue invoices. So with respect to registration, we have 3 points. You are liable but you have not taken registration. Point number 1. Second, you've taken registration, but the information that you have furnished is false. And third, you are not taking registration, but you are still continuing to do business, but you are using someone else's registration number to issue your invoices. And then R is fraudulently obtains refund. So R for, see, this S is suppresses turnover and supplies goods, services or both without or with false invoice. Then T is TDS, TCS. Either you are not deducting or you are deducting less. Then R is registration and refund. For registration, we have 3 offences. Saying you are furnishing false information, not obtaining registration, or you are using someone else's registration number to issue invoices. And one R is you are fraudulently obtaining refund. After that, I is invoice and ITC. If we are saying issuing invoices without supply, see, point 1 was supply without invoice, and this is issuing invoice without supply, which means fake invoices you are issuing. After that, ITC. ITC says takes or utilizes ITC without actual receipt of goods or services and distributes ITC in contravention of section 20. Section 20 was input service distributor. So not according to. Otherwise then, according to section 20, you've distributed credits, and then this is simple that you've not received actually goods or services but still you are taking ITC. Then C is supplies or transports goods which are liable for confiscation. Then C is collect any amount as tax or collect any tax in contravention but fails to pay to government beyond 3 months from due date. You cannot collect any amount in the name of tax, right? See, if you have collected any amount in the name of tax and your proceedings are already done according to section 73, 74 that we've studied in demand recovery chapter, then again these provisions are not going to apply. We have studied this point there also, that if any proceeding is concluded under section 73, 74, then that same proceeding will not be again carried out under 122 and again penalty will not be levied. Only if section 73, 74 penalties have not been levied on you, then you come to section 122. This is general case. Okay, ma'am. Then T, transports any goods without the cover of documents. So without e-way bill or without invoices, without delivery challenge, you are transporting your goods. Then you are tampering or destroying any evidences or documents. Then F is F for financial information. Again, for financial information, we have 3 points. 1, you are not maintaining accounts records only. So you are failing to maintain accounts records. Okay. Then we are saying we are maintaining, but they are false. So we are falsifying or we are substituting the accounts records. Or last point is, even if we are maintaining, they are true also, but we are not furnishing only when the officer is asking. Understand the 3 points. Point number 1, we are saying you are not maintaining accounts records only. Okay, ma'am. You are maintaining, but they are false. And third point, you are maintaining, they may be true also, but you are not furnishing only when the officer is asking from you. Then OO, food. So after strict we had food. So F for financial information. Then OO is obstructing officer on duty. Let us say an officer is here to do raid, to carry out raid or inspection or search operations, or they are stopping you to check your e-way bill, etc., and you are obstructing him from doing his duty. And D is dispose of or tempers detained or seized or attached goods. So now see, when they confiscate your goods, no, they take those goods away with them. But when they are seizing or detaining, the goods are there with you only. They are simply seizing it, they are telling you to not use them and to not deal with them. But still, if you dispose of such detained or seized goods, then in that case also penalty will be levied. So for all the strict food offences, there is a single penalty saying that the person doing any of these offence will be liable for a penalty of 10,000 or tax involved, whichever is higher, and this amount is under CGST Act. So if the question is for IGST, you will have to double the figures. Okay, ma'am. Now particularly for these offences where I have done this asterisk mark. Very simple. Issuing invoice without supply, doing supply without invoice, or the 2 ITC point. Once again with me. Issuing invoice without supply, doing supply without invoice, or the 2 points of ITC. Taking ITC without receipt of goods services, or distributing ITC in contravention. For these 4 particular type of offences, because they are more grave in nature and people try to commit these offences more. This fake ITC thing and everything is going on only in the market. So here government is saying that if there is any person who is a mastermind behind this, we are saying any person who retains the benefit of a transaction. Let us say a fake invoice is issued. Now, there are multiple people involved. The person who is issuing the fake invoice, let's say the person whose registration number is used to issue fake invoices, the person who is taking ITC for it. So many people are involved in this transaction. Ultimately, the person at whose instance this transaction is carried out, who is the mastermind behind this transaction, who is ultimately retaining the benefit of this transaction, this person shall be liable to pay a duty of an amount equivalent to tax evaded or ITC availed or passed on. Basically, whatever is the amount of tax involved, in addition to this penalty, in addition to this penalty that you have to pay, if you are the mastermind of this transaction, you will also have to pay the penalty under section 122(1)(a). Now see, understand, the penalty of section 122(1) can only be levied on a taxable person, but 122(1)(a) can be levied on any person. Today I am not registered under GST, but I am the mastermind of issuing fake invoices and undertaking transactions using other people's GST number, etc. Then also penalty under section 122(1)(a) can be levied on me. So this is the difference, that 122(1)(a) can be levied on any person, but 122 can be only levied on a taxable person. In short, the word important is mastermind here, that at whose instance this entire transaction is carried out, he shall be liable under 122(1)(a). Okay, ma'am. After that, 122(1)(b) talks about ECO, e-commerce operator. Now, here and there we've studied provisions with respect to ECO, that whenever we are supplying through e-commerce operator will furnish a GSTR 8, declare details of all the supplies done through him. Then also, they will not allow any interstate supply from unregistered person through them. Also, for composition people, we've studied that they can supply goods through ECO, but they cannot do interstate transaction. So here we are saying that if an e-commerce operator allows an unregistered persons to supply through them, and also they are allowing them to do interstate supplies, so allows a supply of goods, services or both through it by an unregistered person other than the person notified, exempted. Now see, government has said that unregistered person can supply through e-commerce operator provided they are having PAN, they are declaring the PAN, they are not doing interstate transaction, they are taking that enrollment number. We have studied this entire list of 8 points that you need to fulfill under section 23. If you open registration chapter section 23, you will find these points that you need to satisfy these points. Then we will allow you to supply goods through ECO being an unregistered person. So here we are saying if the ECO is allowing an unregistered person without satisfying those points to supply through him, or the ECO is allowing an unregistered person or the people who are not eligible to make interstate supplies, or the ECO is not furnishing its proper return under outward supply that we've studied in section 52. In that case, ECO shall also be liable to a penalty of 10,000 or the tax amount involved, whichever is higher. Okay, ma'am. Chalo. Then we are saying, now see, composition people can also supply through e-commerce operator, goods allowed. We've studied also that they should not do interstate supply, and the details regarding the supplies should be furnished to government. Now there the tax amount involved is going to be less, no, because for composition people tax amount is either 1%, 5% or 6%, and for goods particularly there will not be 6% only, but because if you are supplying services, then so you cannot, being a composition person, supply through ECO. We've studied this. So the rate going that will be applicable is going to be 1% only. So here we are saying that other than the person paying tax under section 10, we are saying that normally we take the amount of tax involved. Normally we take the amount of tax involved, but for composition people, tax involved is going to be less. So you ignore that. You take the normal amount only. So we are saying that shall be liable to a penalty of 10,000 or an amount equivalent to the amount of tax involved had such supply been made by a registered person other than section 10. Because section 10 tax is going to be less. You take the tax of a normal registered person or 10,000, whichever is higher. Okay, ma'am. Now, this is the very good section that will come in exam if comes from this part. If question is coming from this part, then this section becomes important. Now we are saying that for these offences, for all these offences that you have studied a penalty of tax involved or 10,000, for e-commerce operator again tax involved or 10,000, whichever is higher, we are saying it might be possible that the offence that is committed is without any intention of fraud, willful misstatement. Basically, it was just a mistake. In that case, we are saying that we are going to give a discount to you in the penalties. So we say that if the tax amount involved is extremely high, your penalty becomes 10% of tax involved or 10,000, whichever is higher. What are we saying? That if the offence committed by you was with mistake, not with the intention of fraud, let us say I forgot to issue some invoice. Or let us say I mistakenly forgot to issue e-way bill and I transported some goods. So it is possible that any of this offence is committed without actually having the intention to commit offense, and but still you are caught by the department and you're able to prove that okay, this was not actually with a malified intention, this was a bona fide mistake, then they say that okay, we will not levy full penalty from you. We will not levy full penalty from you. Minimum penalty 10,000 we want. Even if it was error, mistake or fraud, at least 10,000 to we want only. But if the tax amount is extremely high, we are saying okay, you take 10% of tax involved or 10,000, whichever is higher. This is under CGST Act. So we understand again same to same penalty is going to apply under SGST Act. But if it was with an intention of fraud, willful misstatement or suppression of fact, then nobody can save you. The full penalty of tax involved or 10,000, whichever is higher, you will have to pay. Simple. Okay, ma'am. And last section 122.3 is a general provision saying that, let us say there is some accountant in your firm who knows everything. He could have complained to government, but still he is helping you to do such evasions or abatement. Then that person can also be levied up to a penalty of 25,000. Anything from 0 to 25,000, anything up to 25,000. So we are saying that this person is not directly involved. This person is not directly involved. Let us say a driver of the truck who knew that the goods are offensive, but still he decided to transport. Let's say your accountant who knew, but still he continued to do such things. So here we are saying that if you are a party to evasion, you might not be accruing the full benefits, because if you are the mastermind accruing full benefits, then we fall here under 122(1)(a). You are simply a person who is helping to do evasion, who is abating to do evasion, who is a party to evasion. In that case, you can also be levied up to a general penalty of 25,000. Okay, so this 122(1)(a) and 122(3) can be levied on any person. B is for eco. 122(2) is for registered person. This fraud or not fraud for registered person. And this simple 122(1) was for any person, any taxable person. Why they are using the word taxable and not registered? Because there is this offense saying that I am liable but I have not taken registration, right? I am liable but I have still not taken registration. Then in that case, you will not be a registered person, but yes, you still will be a taxable person, because people who are liable but not take registration, they are also taxable and penalty can be levied on you also. Got it, ma'am. Then we have studied something about information return, section 150, while we were studying the chapter of returns, that department can ask any other party like your registrar, your bank, your stock exchange, your electricity board to furnish information about you. Now in that case, if they are not furnishing information, then penalty of 100 rupees per day, during which failure continues, and maximum 5,000 can be levied. We have studied this in the chapter of returns also. Right, ma'am. Then you have to furnish some statistics under section 151 that we have seen in miscellaneous chapter. If you are not furnishing such statistics, then also fine up to 10,000, and in case of continuing default, further fine rupees 100 per day or maximum 25,000. Now these all are very what we say cornered topics, not much asked in examination. So this 123, 124, 125, yes, general penalty is important. General penalty always says that if you have done any contravention of any provision, rule, act, whatever it is, and there is no penalty specified elsewhere for that particular offence, then penalty automatically becomes anything between 0 to 25,000 up to 25,000. So yes, this general penalty is still important. Other than this, let us say this, for failure to furnish information, failure to furnish statistics. Now all of these things, let us say power to waive off penalty or power to impose penalty, all these things are not much relevant for examination point of view. Okay, ma'am. Now here general penalty, sometimes they might ask an examination. Let us say they are asking this question saying that there is a provision in registration chapter where we have studied that if you are obtaining registration certificate, you are obtaining GST number, you have to display that registration certificate at a good prominent place in your place of business. Let us say you have not displayed that certificate. Then we have not studied any particular penalty, that what if ma'am I don't display the certificate. Then if there is not any particular penalty given for an offence, then you come under section 125 general penalty, which says anything up to 25,000 can be levied. So there can be some small offences for which government has not given penalty only. Then in that case you come under section 125 and officer can levy anything from you up to 25,000 as penalty. Okay, ma'am. Then we say general disciplines relating to penalty. Cases involving fixed sum or percentages are excluded. Now see, how to determine that, ma'am, what will be levied between 0 to 25? At a lot of places, we have studied the word up to, ma'am, up to. Here also it is said up to 25,000. Here also it is said up to 25,000. See, if for any particular offence, there is a fixed penalty given, a fixed percentage given, that yes, 10% or 20% or 5,000 or 10,000, if some amount or percentage is given, then there is absolutely no problem only, that penalty is going to be levied. But what to be done in these situations where they have given a range to the officer that anything between 0 to this up to this amount you can levy, then how to decide then how much penalty should be levied? Here in this case we say that, see, you have to impose penalty which is commensurate with the degree and severity of the breach. If the breach is severe, then you levy high penalties. If the breach is not that severe, okay, it happened, you can also levy less penalties. Also, you will not levy any penalty without giving opportunity of being heard. And also, if the person voluntarily comes forward and tells to officer that, see, this happened, I have done this fraud, I have done this error, I have done this mistake, this happened by me. Now in this case, if the person is voluntarily disclosing, then we should encourage such honesty and voluntary disclosure, and in that case we will take this voluntary disclosure into consideration and lower the penalty compared to what penalty we would have levied if that person would not have come forward. So we are saying that a voluntary disclosure should also be considered as a mitigating factor, that okay, we will at least mitigate, we'll reduce some penalty because of honesty of this person. And a general point that if the breach is a minor breach, that the amount of tax involved is less than 5,000, it is a minor breach, in that case you don't levy penalty, only you issue notice, give warning, and that is all fine. This question has been asked in MCQs also, I guess 1-2 attempts back. It was also there in November 24 mock test paper also, they've asked this. So this 5,000 they keep on asking, and they ask it as 5,000, less than 5,000, 5,000 or more. These are the options always. So remember that at exact 5,000 is not a minor breach. Only less than 5,000 up to 4,999 rupees offence if you are committing, then it is a minor offence. Because understand, no, even if you levy 10% of this, so 5,000 into 10%, what they will do by levying 500 rupees penalty? So we are saying simply, if the offence is less than 5,000, it is considered as a minor breach, and in that case government is not levying penalties generally. Okay, ma'am. Who has the power to impose penalty? Proper officer can levy penalty. Now we are saying that, see, proper officer can levy penalty if he is of the view that person is liable even if this person is not covered anywhere. Section 62 best judgment assessment for non-filer, Section 63 unregistered best judgment assessment, 64 summary, 73, 74 demand we have studied, then 129, 130 goods liable for confiscation, seizure, etc. Now we are saying that even if the person is not covered under any of these sections, but still the proper officer feels that no, he has done some fraud, he has done some error, and we want to levy penalty, officer has the power, proper officer still has the power to levy penalty even if the person is not covered under any of these sections. Also, government has a power to waive off your penalties or fees, or both, we know. And government normally under many circumstances like natural calamities or like at the time of COVID, government also waives off your late fees for filing return a lot of times. Similarly, government has a power to waive your penalty in part or full for any penalty that is being levied under 122, 123, 125, any penalty government can levy, or they can give you discount. And also late fees under section 47. This is late fees for filing late return. This waiver government gives a lot of times. Right, ma'am. Chalo. This was one part of the chapter. This was one part of the chapter, a general block, which says that for all the strict food offences, this is the penalty. E-commerce operator, this is the penalty. General case not covered anywhere, up to 25,000 is the penalty. Now, how to decide that how much to levy in cases of up to? We will consider some factors, that how much severe the offence is the person voluntarily coming forward, and this less than 5,000 offence is a minor breach for which we do not levy any penalty. In any situation, we always give an opportunity of being heard first, and then only we levy the penalties. This was one part of the chapter. Now moving on to second part of the chapter, section 129, 130, there is this entire block, an entire procedure which needs to be set in your mind. Section 129 talks about detention, seizure and release of goods and conveyance in transit. Particular case, this is in transit case, that if your goods are moving, your goods are in transit and the officer is stopping your vehicle, checking your documents, either you are carrying off offences goods or goods on which duty is not paid, you do not have e-way bill, if all these are the cases, then what department can do? Now we are saying, notwithstanding anything contained in this act, you forget every other section where any person is transporting or storing. Basically, warehouse and transportation, both things are covered. Any person is transporting or storing any goods while they are in transit in contravention of the provisions, all such goods, conveyance and documents shall be liable to detention or seizure. So the conveyance also, the truck that is carrying the goods, can also be detained or seized by the officer. So here we are saying that if you are transporting or storing the goods while they are in transit, then in that case we are saying that the goods that are being transported, the conveyance or the documents, anything is liable to detention or seizure. The officer can detain or seize if any offence is appearing. Okay, then after detention, when the goods will be released, after you pay the penalty, what penalty we have to pay? Now see, understand, if the goods are being transported, it is possible that when I am asking the driver, when I am asking the transporter that whose goods are this, and they are not telling whose goods are this, the owner is also not coming forward. So I don't know that whose goods are this. I know that on these goods taxes are not being paid. These are offensive goods, but we don't know who is the owner. Then what we do? In that case, we normally levy penalty on the transporter only. We've studied this also in the chapter of assessment. So here we are saying that, see, if the owner of goods comes forward, in that case, we will levy the penalty of 200% of the tax payable. You never double the percentages for IGST. We always double the amounts. So let us say the tax payable, the total tax payable is 1 lakh. Which means 50,000 under CGST and 50,000 under SGST. This is my total tax. So I am saying that 200% of my tax payable, if it is under CGST, then again, of course, we understand 200% under SGST. So my total into 200% is going to be same only. You never double the percentage as 400% because the tax amount always is automatically doubled only. Right, ma'am. So if the owner of goods comes forward, then 200% of tax payable. But what if, ma'am, the goods that are being transported are exempted goods and the tax payable is 0? In that case, we will take 2% of value of goods or 25,000, whichever is lower. Now understand, value remains the same. Even if it is CGST Act or it is IGST Act, my taxable value or let us say the total value of goods, even if they are exempted, always remains the same. No. Tax amount changes. In IGST, tax amount is doubled. In CGST, SGST, tax amount is half. So the tax amount changes for according to the act that you are studying, but the value always remains same. So here I will say that if 2% of value is under CGST Act, which means if I do double, then 4% of the value is going to be under IGST Act. We normally never in entire GST double any percentage while calculating duties or taxes under IGST, but particularly here in this case, if I don't double, it is going to be same only because value is same. See, if we say 2% of tax, then tax automatically doubles under IGST. Then the penalty becomes double automatically. But value always remains the same. And therefore, we will say that if 2% of value is under CGST, then 4% of value becomes IGST. And 25,000 under CGST, which means 50,000 under IGST, whichever is lower. But if the owner of goods is not coming forward, then in that case, penalty is going to be 50% of value of goods or 200% of tax payable, whichever is higher. And if the goods are exempted, then it is 5% of the value of goods or 25,000, whichever is lower. There is no way out. You will have to learn this. You will have to learn this. So see, 200% of tax and 50%, 200%, whichever is higher. Here it is 2% of value or 25,000 and here it is 5% of value or 25,000. Whichever is lower, if the owner comes forward, if the owner does not come forward. A question for same, if I remember correctly, was asked in November 23 examination, maybe. May 23 or November 23, I'm not sure. A question from this has already been asked. Okay, ma'am. Now we are saying that these goods and conveyances shall be released either on payment of aforesaid penalty you pay, or if you are in a hurry to clear the goods and you want the conveyance back urgently, it's okay. You can also furnish a security or equivalent amount, security of the amount payable, and provisionally you can take. And whenever you will pay the amount, it's okay and done. So if you pay the penalty today only, you pay and you get your goods released. If you are not paying, then you will at least have to furnish a security for your seized conveyance to get released. Okay. Now, no detention or seizure without serving an order of detention or seizure. Of course, see, you cannot directly do detention and seizure. First, you will issue a notice. First, the proper officer will issue a notice within 7 days of detention or seizure specifying the penalty payable. You cannot levy penalty without ever giving opportunity of being heard. So, we are saying that, see, first of all we will always issue a notice on you. We will always issue a notice on you and give you 7 days ka time to give reply on that notice. Now, after considering your reply, we are saying that after this, we will pass an order within 7 days from the date of service of such notice for payment of penalty. So, today your goods are seized. Then we give you a notice within 7 days, and once a notice is given to you, then within 7 days order is going to be issued. So, proper officer shall issue notice within 7 days of detention or seizure specifying the penalty payable, and thereafter pass an order within 7 days from the date of service of such notice for payment of penalty. And for a person who is transporting the goods, he is just the transporter and not the owner. Now, we can levy penalties on transporter, we know that, but for transporter, you will also not do detention seizure without giving an order. See, understand, for if my goods are transported, I am the owner. First of all, they can directly seize my goods. They will give me a notice and order for penalty. But for transporter, we are saying any which ways, for penalty notice will be given, order will be given. But for detention seizure also, to a transporter, order will first have to be issued and only then detention seizure will be done. So, no detention seizure without serving an order of detention or seizure on the person transporting the goods, because they are transporters. Okay, ma'am. Now we are saying where a person makes payment of amount within 7 days of show cause notice before issuance of order. Now see, here a notice is first issued to me, the day on which seizure is done. From there, within 7 days, notice is issued to me. Now, if from the issuance of this notice within 7 days, I come forward and I make the payment, then no order will be issued. But if I am not making payment, then of course, order will be issued to me within 7 days from notice. So, this is very simple. Okay, ma'am. Never ever any penalty will be levied on you without giving an opportunity of being heard. Tax interest is any which way is normally payable only, but for penalty we are saying always opportunity of being heard shall be given to you. On payment, that whatever penalty is specified under 129(1), this penalty that is specified under 129(1), whenever you pay this penalty, the notice and the provisions and the orders and the proceedings, whatever are going on under 129(3) shall automatically be concluded. Not very relevant for exam, only for understanding. Okay, ma'am. Now, what we are saying is the owner or transporter fails to pay the penalty within 15 days from the date of receipt of copy of order. Then in that case, the goods conveyance so detained or seized shall be liable to be sold or disposed of to recover the penalty. What we are saying, see, today seizure is done. From seize within 7 days, notice given to you. From notice within 7 days, if you are not paying, then finally order to pay penalty will be given to you. Now, once you receive the order to pay penalty, you will have to pay the penalty here within 15 days. If you are not paying this penalty within 15 days, then in that case, your goods or your conveyance shall be liable to be sold or disposed of by the proper officer to recover your penalty. Provided that, see, conveyance, the transporter can get the conveyance released by paying whatever is the penalty under 129(3) or 1 lakh rupees, whichever is lower. Because let us say the penalty under 129(3) is extremely high, the tax amount involved is extremely high, but the conveyance, what you are ultimately doing is you are seizing the conveyance, the truck, etc. Now the truck, etc. To save my truck, let us say my truck was for 5-6 lakh only, but the penalty that is coming is 10-12 lakh. Then normally any person would think, no, okay, let the truck go, I don't want to pay. What final they can do? They've seized my truck, they can sell the truck and recover the money. Let them do. So here, For transporter, obviously we will have to give some relaxation because they are not the mastermind. No, they are simply transporters involved in this situation. So here we are saying that the transporter can get the conveyance released upon penalty of 129.3 or 1 lakh, whichever is lower. So basically if the penalty is more, simply by paying 1 lakh rupees, the transporter can get the conveyance released. If the goods are of perishable or hazardous nature, then we can also allow less than 15 days time from the order to pay the penalties. Okay, ma'am. Now we are saying who will be considered as the owner of goods. So if there is an invoice or other document accompanying the goods, then the name of the person written on the invoice is going to be the owner. So either the consignor or consignee should be deemed to be the owner. But if no name is written, then we are saying that proper officer is going to determine that who will be the owner of goods. So if we are having any document, any invoice, anything accompanying the goods that are in transit, then in that case whatever name is there on the invoice, could be consignor, could be consignee, anything, whatever name is there will be deemed as the owner. But if there is no name mentioned, then proper officer will have to carry out some diligence and then ascertain that who is going to be owner of these goods. Okay, ma'am. Chalo, now we are saying that see, the day on which seizure is done, 7 days notice they give you, opportunity of being heard. Okay, then 7 days they give you order. Then 15 days they give you to make payment. If you are not making any payment within 15 days, then your goods become liable for auction. Officer can sell the goods and recover the penalty money. So we are saying that if the penalty is not paid within 15 days, the goods or the conveyance shall be sold through a process of auction, including e-auction. But again, before auction, a notice has to be issued for auction. So now we are saying, provided that if the penalties and expenses relating to safe custody and handling before issuance of such notice is paid, then officer will release the goods. Okay, what they are saying that now I will give a general notice to people, to general public, that these goods are available for auction if anyone wants to purchase. And for auction, we are saying at least 15 days prior notice has to be given. Let us say, see, understand the timeline here. The goods are seized here. Okay, 7 days we have notice. Then 7 days we have order to make the payment of penalty. Then you have 15 days ka time to pay the penalty. If you are not paying the penalty, officer is going to issue a notice inviting people for auction. And here we are saying the day on which this notice is issued, there should be at least 15 days gap to the date of auction so that people can read the notices, submit their bids, etc. Meanwhile, during this time, before the actual auction is conducted, if the original owner wants to get the goods cleared, he can pay the penalties and also he will have to pay the expenses, because for all these times, the goods were seized, the goods were detained, so there were some expenses which were done to take care of the goods because the goods were seized. Also some expenses for the auction that were done. If the person pays all these penalties and all these expenses, then okay, you get your goods cleared, go home, auction will be cancelled. Okay, so now the last day for submission of bid or date of auction shall not be earlier than 15 days from the issue of above notice. We are saying at least 15 days. It could be more, it could be 20, 25, but at least 15 days time you will have to give from the notice of auction till the date of actual auction so that people can submit their bids during this period. If the goods are perishable or hazardous, then of course less time can be allowed. Proper officer may specify a pre-bid deposit, that okay, if you are bidding, then you will have to give a pre-bid deposit. If you remain unsuccessful in the auction, they give this bid amount back to you. And if you succeed, then okay, you pay the remaining amount and you take the goods home. So we are saying that there may be a pre-bid deposit to be furnished so that only serious people are participating in the auction. It may be returned to the unsuccessful bidders, and if successful bidder fails to make the payment of full amount, then this pre-bid amount can also be forfeited. So people who do not succeed in the auction, they will get their pre-bid amount back. And the person who is successful in the auction but is not paying the remaining amount, then in that case this pre-bid will be forfeited. Now proper officer shall issue notice to successful bidder requiring him to make payment within 15 days of auction. So today auction is carried out and let's say Mr. X is declared as the successful bidder, as the winner of the auction. Then department will give him a notice that okay, you have won this auction, you please pay the amount within 15 days. If this person is not paying the amount, then the pre-bid is going to be forfeited. On payment of full bid amount, proper officer shall transfer the possession and ownership to the successful person and issue a certificate. Proper officer shall cancel the process and proceed for re-auction if no bid is received, or whatever bid they have received, they feel that it is not competitive, they can get more money, so they can also cancel the auction and redo the entire auction process. If appeal is filed by the person, then recoveries are going to be stayed. Of course, if I seize the goods, I detain the goods, and the original owner files an appeal, goes to the appellate authority for this matter, then of course you cannot sell the goods, you cannot start the recovery proceeding. To summarize everything, today when my goods are seized, what you can do is you can skip reading all of these pages and write only simple timeline that I am giving you here. Today when my goods are seized, they give me they issue me a notice giving 7 days time to reply. If I don't reply within 7 days, from the date of seizure, within 7 days, they give me notice to reply. Okay. If I don't reply, next 7 days, they issue order to make payment. Okay. From this, within 15 days, from the date of order, within 15 days, I have to make the payment. If I don't make payment, ultimately here, it can be decided that yes, auction will be done. This is decided that now auction for my goods will be done. Okay. Now to conduct auction, they will have to issue a notice. Notice for auction, at least 15 days time. At least 15 days time to the auction, so that people can submit their bids. Okay. Now the auction is conducted. Here we have the successful bidder. Here we have the successful bidder who will be given notice to make payment within 7 days or 15 days. I guess it was 15 days only. Yes. So now we give the notice to the bidder for 15 days to make the final payment. If not made, his pre-bid deposit can be forfeited. This is the timeline. Seize my goods, notice, if I notice for 7 days, order for 7 days, and then if I'm not making the payment within 15 days of order, then auction will be carried out. Now, whatever date they fix for auction, at least 15 days before that date, they will have to issue a notice for auction, and whoever wins the auction will be given 15 days time to make the payment. A notice will be issued to him to make the payment within 15 days from the date of notice. This is what we have been studying for the last 2 pages. Okay, ma'am. Then we say disposal of proceeds of sale of goods or movable property. Now we are saying, what if after auction officer has recovered the money? What they will do with the money? First of all, they will recover their cost. So whatever cost was involved to store the goods, to auction out the goods, all of those expenses will be first paid off, all the admin expenses. After that, what was the amount actually recoverable, that will be recovered under 129. After that, if there is any other due from that person under any other section, that we will recover. And after this, if still there is any amount left, we recovered a lot of money by auctioning out the goods, penalties were less only, then we can give this remaining money back to the person also. And so any amount left, we will credit this amount to the e-cash ledger of the registered person, and if the person is not registered, he will not have any e-cash ledger, then in that case, we will give this amount in the bank account. And if it is not possible to pay this amount within 6 months from the sale for any reason, he is not furnishing the bank account details, he is not available, we want to give him the money, anything like that, then this amount ultimately goes to the Consumer Welfare Fund. Very simple. So first all admin cost, then the actual amount that was recoverable under 129. After that, if there is any other due under any other section, still if we have more money, then actually that money belongs to that person only, because goods of that person were sold. You give that amount back in the cash ledger. If cash ledger not available for unregistered person, you give it in the bank account. If not possible to give within 6 months, then it will go to the Consumer Welfare Fund. Okay, ma'am. This we have already studied. Goods liable for confiscation, we have already studied in some another chapter. These were these rare goods. What is now in these situations your goods can be confiscated. Only particularly these situations your goods can be confiscated. Section 129 was for seizure, detention, particularly during transit. This is a general case. Now here section 130 says that receives or supplies goods in contravention, does not account for the goods, and then we are saying that you are supplying goods without taking registration, you are evading the provisions and sections of this GST Act, or you are using a conveyance to transport the goods in contravention of rules or act. Now these particular situations, so we are saying that these rare cases, these rare C is extra here, conveyance, for conveyance. This rare thing we have already studied, that goods liable for confiscation, and also your conveyance is liable for confiscation, not just goods. In these four situations, your goods can be confiscated, and here in this situation, your conveyance can also be confiscated. Then we are saying in all of these above cases, the goods and conveyance liable for confiscation and person liable for penalty under section 122. So the general penalty only 10,000 or tax involved, whichever is higher, that section 122 general penalty will only be levied here in case of confiscation. And also, so along with penalty, confiscation can also be done, is what they are trying to say here in these particular situations. Right, ma'am. Conveyance shall not be confiscated if the owner of conveyance proves that I was a simple transporter. I never knew. See, I was just a transporter. I never knew that these goods are offensive or duties are not, taxes are not paid on these goods. So if the owner of the conveyance proves that these things were out of his knowledge, then okay, conveyance is not going to be confiscated. If the goods or conveyance are confiscated, they have an option to pay the fine in lieu of confiscation. See, understand, penalties, taxes, anyways, interest you have to pay. Here we are saying that okay, we will not confiscate your goods or conveyance. We are not going to take your goods and conveyance with us. We will not confiscate them if you pay the fine. So fine is in lieu of confiscation only, that okay, we will not confiscate, but normal taxes and penalties you will have to pay. So we are saying amount of fine shall not exceed the market value of the goods, less tax chargeable thereon. However, aggregate of fine and penalty shall not be less than 100% of tax payable on such goods. This is important for MCQ. This is important for MCQ. They are saying whatever fine you want to levy in lieu of confiscation shall not exceed market value of the goods minus tax. So what is the market value of these goods minus the tax that is already payable? This amount should be, this amount, from this amount your fine should not exceed. So this is the maximum fine. Less than this you can anytime levy in lieu of confiscation, but maximum fine is market value of the goods minus tax chargeable. Question will give you market value, question will give you tax amount, you will simply have to calculate this if it appears in MCQ. That okay, I do not want my goods or conveyance to get confiscated, therefore in lieu of confiscation I am paying this fine. Understood? Also they are saying that fine plus penalty should be at least 100% of tax payable. This is only fine. Now they are saying fine plus whatever penalty is generally levied. This fine plus penalty both together should be at least 100%, not less than 100%. So we are saying even if this fine is less and penalty is less and you aggregate them both and it is not coming up to 100% of tax, extra amount will be charged from you, and fine plus penalty both should be at least 100% of the tax payable on such goods if the person is not allowing confiscation and he is paying some fine in lieu of confiscation. Okay. When the conveyance used for transportation of goods or passenger on hire, owner of conveyance shall be given option to pay fine equal to the amount of tax payable on goods transported. If the fine amount is coming more, let's say market value is more, it's okay. How much was the maximum tax on goods that you pay? This option will be given to the conveyance owner. Proper officer, after giving reasonable time, less than equal to 3 months, to pay the fine in lieu of confiscation, dispose the goods conveyance and deposit the sale proceeds with the government if this person is not paying any amount. Okay. Section 130 is delinked from section 129. So we are saying that if proper officer is of opinion that movement of goods is being done with intention to evade tax, he may directly invoke section 120. 130. See, 129 we studied was particularly for transit only. Detention, seizure in case of transit, and section 130 is particularly confiscation and also some other cases involved here. So we are saying that 129 and 130 are not linked. So officer can directly invoke 130 also, officer can invoke 129 also, depending upon what is the situation. Question will always tell you that which section is being invoked here. Got it, ma'am. We are saying that confiscation or penalty shall not interfere with any other punishment. So if there is any prosecution, arrest, registration to be cancelled, any other thing to be done, they will be done irrespective of your confiscation or penalty. This so anyways you have to pay, and those proceedings will also be done on you. Now section 132 says that now here is the situation where you are going to face some issues and questions are asked from here. See what we are saying. You will find a lot of common points here. They are saying, see, supplies of goods services without issue, or issue invoice without actual supply, taking ITC without receiving the goods. Then we are saying collecting amount but not paying beyond 3 months, financial falsified financial records, or let us say VR concerning himself in transporting, removing, disposing, keeping, concealing any goods for which they are liable to confiscation. So ma'am, all these offences are common that we have studied in section 122 also, and their penalty was tax evaded 10,000, whichever is higher. Now again for these same offences, they are giving separate penalties. Yes, when the amount involved gets more. So here we are saying that for any of these offences above, for any of these offences that we are studying above, if the amount is greater than 5 crore, then we are saying punishment with imprisonment up to 5 years and fine shall also be levied. So those penalties, yes, and plus imprisonment up to 5 years and fine can also be levied if the amount is greater than 5 crore rupees. Imprisonment shall be for a minimum period of 6 months in the absence of special adequate reasons to the contrary. So up to 5 years but minimum 6 months. So anything between 6 months to 5 years can be given to you as imprisonment, and also in addition to penalties, fines will be levied. If the amount is 2 crore, greater than 2 crore but up to 5 crore. See, this is greater than 5 crore. So greater than 2 crore or up to 5 crore, we are saying imprisonment now becomes 3 years with fine, but minimum imprisonment still remains 6 months only. So here we are saying if the amount involved is more, then along with penalty also imprisonment will be carried out here. Got it, ma'am. Now particularly for this offence, issuance of invoice without supply in violation. So we are saying fake invoices, even if the amount is between 1 to 2 crore, because see, common point says that greater than 5 crore, 2 crore to 5 crore. Now particularly we are saying that issuance of invoice without supply for fake invoices, even if it is more than 1 crore up to 2 crore, then imprisonment up to 1 year and fine can also be given. Minimum 6 months imprisonment, yes. 1 to 2 crore 1 year, 2 to 5 crore 3 years, and more than 5 crore 5 years. But this is for all the offences that are given here. Yes ma'am, but this 1 year wala imprisonment is particularly only for fake invoices. Okay ma'am, understood. Then we are saying that falsification of information or records etc. with an intention to evade tax. For falsification of accounts, we are saying that imprisonment is going to be up to 6 months only, or fine, or both, whatever seems appropriate. So here, particularly only for falsification of accounts records, we will not give you 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 3 year imprisonment, up to 6 months maximum. So particularly for clause number F. What is clause number F here? Falsifies or substitutes the financial informations or gives fake documents informations when asked for. So we are saying particularly for falsification of information, we are saying imprisonment is going to be up to 6 months or fine, or both. Okay. And but if there is any second or subsequent offense, then you forget the limit. Now any subsequent, if you are doing a repetitive kind of offense, if you are involved in a repetitive kind of offense, then even if the amount is 50 lakh, less than 1 crore, less than 2 crore, less than 5 crore, then also imprisonment up to 5 years and minimum imprisonment of 6 months can be given to you. So this is if you are doing the offense first time. If you are a repeat offender, in that case we are saying you forget the limit and up to 5 years, minimum 6 months up to 5 years, imprisonment can be given to you. And this is and fine. So imprisonment plus fine you will have to give. Here it is imprisonment and fine. Imprisonment and fine, both you have to pay. Only for falsification, they are saying that imprisonment up to 6 months or with fine or with both can be levied. So only or, that okay, you can pay fine and get yourself free from imprisonment is the only option here. But other all situations we are saying imprisonment and fine will be levied on you. There is no option of or. Particularly if the amount is more. See what we are saying, penalty normally levied under 122 will be levied only. Plus we are saying if the amounts are more, we will levy fine also and we will do imprisonment also. Say yes or no. Got it? Yes, ma'am. So we are saying particularly for these offences, if the amount involved is more, then in that case you forget what you have studied in other sections. See, whoever commits or causes or to commit and retain the benefits arising out of any of these particular certain offences, then we are saying that along with penalties you will also have to undergo imprisonment and fine also. Okay, ma'am. All the offences in this section are non-cognizable and bailable only. We know that particularly in GST, everything is bailable and non-cognizable only. But particularly, clause A to D, if the amount is greater than 5 crore. What are clause A to D? Now, this particular section, as I said, there is a lot of learning involved here. Along with clause number, if you learn, then the section still becomes little easy for you. So, they are saying that particularly for A, B, C, D, supplying good without invoice, issuing invoice without supply, or utilizing wrong ITC basically, availing ITC, using any false invoice or fake bill, and we are saying collecting amount but not depositing to government. For these four types of offences particularly, we are saying that these offence, if the amount is greater than 5 crore, then they become cognizable and non-bailable. There are serious offences, which means even without arrest warrant, you can be arrested and then you will have to be produced before magistrate within 24 hours. And here, the offences which are bailable and non-cognizable, they cannot arrest you without warrant, and second, even if they've arrested you, they can give you bail. The commissioner of the police station can give you bail. But here, bail is not possible, compulsory, you will have to be taken to the magistrate only and produced before the magistrate, and even without a search warrant, without arrest warrant, they can arrest you. Particularly for clause A to D, if the amount is greater than 5 crore, then only the offence becomes cognizable and non-bailable. Okay, ma'am. Then we are saying liability of officers and certain other persons. If person engaged in statistics compilation or have access to agent to common portal, they try to willfully disclose any information or such. So basically people who are dealing with GST portal, these are government people having our information, dealing with GST portal. If they are furnishing our information with some fake intention, with some fraudulent intention, then in that case, they can also be given imprisonment up to 6 months, fine up to 25,000 or both. For government servant, you will first have to, of course, take previous sanction of government, and other than government servant, previous sanction of commissioner will be required to levy penalty under this particular section. Again, not very important for exam. What was important is this table that you will have to learn if you are trying to do offences and penalties chapter. Normally, question from here only is asked. Okay, then no court shall take cognizance of any offence under this act without previous sanction of commissioner, and no court inferior to that of magistrate of first class shall try the offence. So, any offence under GST shall be at least tried by magistrate of first class or the above court only. Lower than this court cannot try GST related offences. Then presumption of culpable mental state. Of course, we will assume that whatever offences have been carried out have been done with the person with full intention only, which means we are saying that there was no coercion, there was no force on him, he has intentionally in his own senses carried out such offences is what we will always assume. Okay, ma'am. Then we are saying relevancy of statements under certain circumstances. See, we have studied section 70. Power to issue summons, right? So officers can issue summons and call you during any proceedings to ask any questions, tell you to furnish documents, etc. If they had asked you and you had given some statement at that point of time, we are saying when the person who made the statement is dead or cannot be found or is incapable of giving existence or is kept out of the way by the adverse party or whose presence cannot be obtained without any amount of delay, under such circumstances, the court considers unreasonable, or when the person who made such statement is examined as a witness in the case before the court and the court is of the opinion that having regard to circumstances, the statement should be admitted, then that statement will be admitted. Ma'am, please can you take this once again? Listen. A statement made or signed by a person or appearance in response to any summon under section 70 during course of any inquiry shall be relevant for the purpose of proving the truth in any prosecution under this act. So we are saying unless that person, unless we can prove to the contrary, whatever this person said while we summoned him under section 70 will be considered as true only. So when the person who made the statement is examined as a witness in the case, then to always it will be admitted only. We are saying even if that person has died, before death he said something when he was summoned under section 70, then also we are going to assume that whatever he said at that point of time, no, was true only. See, if we can call and we can examine him as a witness again, so we will do only. Even if we are saying, even if he died or he is not found or anything like that happened, still we are saying if the court considers it unreasonable that we should not admit something, then that's a separate thing. Otherwise normally we will say that the court will assume this true only, whatever the person said when he was summoned. Again, not very important for examination. Then we say if the company has committed any offense, then the person, director, manager, secretary or any person who is an officer, who is the officer in charge of the company, shall also be considered as guilty and penalties will also be levied on such person. In case of firm, HUF, trust, AOP, BOI, LLP, we are saying partner, karta, managing trustee, etc. shall be deemed guilty. If they can prove that they were not negligent, they were not involved, then we can free them. Otherwise, normally, if a company is committing offense, then the directors, the members or the key position holders basically of the companies will always be considered as guilty only. Okay, what is compounding of offences? A question from same was asked in May 2024 examination. Compounding means you are paying money instead of undergoing prosecution. I don't want to undergo prosecution, I don't want to go to jail, I will simply pay the money. So can we compound our offences? The answer is yes. But particularly, there are impermissible in following cases. We are saying allowed to compound once in respect of any offence. If I am doing any offence under 132 A to F, H, I or L. Now where are these offences? See here, these 132, all the offences, we are saying that for these particular offences, compounding can be done only once. If you are a repeat offender, then second time we will not do compounding, then to compulsory prosecution will have to be done. Okay, ma'am. Accused of committing offence under 132 1B, but particularly for 132 1B, even first time compounding will not be done. Ma'am, what is 132 1B? This issuing fake invoices. We are saying issuing fake invoices. Government is very strict with respect to fake invoices. See, even particularly for fake invoices, they have given this 1 to 2 crore wala limit also. For all offences, they have not given. So here government is saying that for 132 1B, fake invoices point, we are not going to allow compounding. Or you are convicted by court already, or you are a prescribed class of person. Any compounding allowed under the provisions of this section shall not affect proceedings under any other law. Any other law prosecution is going on, it will go on. For this particular section, we are saying compounding we can do. Allowed only after making payment of tax, interest, penalty, everything you pay, plus compounding amount also you will have to pay. Then you can save yourself from prosecution. Now again, this question simply says, see, minimum compounding 25% of the tax involved and maximum compounding 100%, which means tax, interest, penalties, fines, whatever payable you will have to pay. Plus you will also have to pay compounding amount. Then we can free you from the prosecution. Now here particularly, for this offence, this is minimum compounding, maximum compounding, minimum compounding, maximum compounding, which is given here. So question and examination was asked from here only. So we are saying that, see, if the compounding is punishable under 132(1)(1) or 132(1)(b. Now how are we going to find out whether it is 132(1) or 2? Now see here. If the amount is greater than 5 crore, if the amount is greater than 5 crore, then it falls under 132(1)(1). If the amount is greater than 2 but up to 5, then it falls under 132(1)(2). I have written all the section numbers. Okay. See, I will take you to the May 24 question only. So along with question, this is going to be more simpler for you. This is the May 24 paper where the question from compounding was asked in examination. Yes, see, the question here is, GST department initiated prosecution proceeding against Mr. Sahil, a taxable person. He collected 8 crore rupees, which is greater than 5 crore. The offence is greater than 5 crore here, okay. But failed to pay the same beyond the 3 months period. Now first of all, under which section this offence is committed. Now see, because this is greater than 5 crore, we understand this is 132(1)(1). Because 132(1)(2) was for greater than 2 but up to 5. This is greater than 5 crore, so it falls under 132(1), that is for sure. And this is offence under which clause? So this was D clause here, right? D clause, collecting any amount as tax but failing to pay within 3 months. Okay. Now here we are saying that this offence is under 132(1)(d) and punishable under 132(1)(1). Now he approached the commissioner on 15 October 23 with a request for compounding, and he is saying that he has made all the full and true disclosures. The commissioner is asking him to pay 5.2 crore as compounding. Whether this is correct or not is they are asking. So let us see, for an offence under 132(1)(d, punishable under 132(1)(1), what compounding is allowed. So here we are saying this is an offence under 132(1)(d. Yes, and punishable under 132(1)(1). Then we are saying that maximum compounding can be 75% and minimum compounding will have to be 50%. So we are saying that the amount of tax involved is 8 crores here. So 8 crore into 50% comes to 4 crore and 8 crore into 75% comes to 6 crore. So the officer can ask any amount between 4 to 6 crore to do my compounding, and officer is asking for 5.2 crore, which means that yes, it is within the range, and the day on which compounding is done and they give you compounding offer, within 30 days from there you will have to make the payment. Mention this thing in notes here. I have not mentioned that the day on which compounding order is issued, the day on which compounding order is issued, within 30 days from here you will have to pay the compounding amount. So you will have to identify that where you are falling, which means ma'am, we will have to learn this entire table. Yes, there's no option, and for that you will have to see that okay, which offence you are committing and whether the amount is greater than 5 crore or less than 5 crore. If greater than 5 crore, then 75% and 50%. If it is less than 5 crore, then 60% and 40%. And for these small offences, it is 25% only. So we are saying that in some situations compounding can be minimum 25%, and some situations compounding can go up to maximum 100%. This is how compounding works. So for these offences, I normally have to pay my tax, interest, penalty, fees, everything. Plus if I don't want to undergo prosecution, then I will have to pay compounding against prosecution. So you identify the range of prosecution according to the section in which you are committing the offence, and then you understand that what is the range. Between this range, officer can ask any amount for prosecution. Okay ma'am. And then a last clarification with respect to this chapter. See, fake invoices, because there is a lot of provisions involved with respect to fake invoices. So we are saying here, Mr. A has not done any supply and hence no notice under section, okay. See, we started like here, Mr. A issued fake invoice without actually supplying any goods or services to Mr. B. Okay. Now understand, under section 73-74, penalties can only be levied if a supply has taken place, because we say that in relation to a supply, the tax is not paid, short paid, ITC wrongly taken, utilized, refund wrongly taken. So there has to be a supply to invoke section 73-74. But section 122 is a general provision. Without supply also it can be invoked. So if there is Mr. A who is issuing a fake invoices without actually supplying any goods or services, then what to do? Because there is no supply actually taking place, you cannot issue any notice under 73-74. Penalty under 122 only will have to be levied now, which is tax evaded or 10,000, whichever is higher. Now we are talking about Mr. B. Now let us say Mr. B uses this fake ITC. There was no supply actually made by Mr. A to B, but invoice was issued, right? If invoice is issued, it is a purchase for B. So B would have taken ITC. So let us say Mr. B has taken utilizing fake ITC but doing actual supply. Utilized fake ITC but did actual supply. Now because supply has taken place, I will say demand order under section 74 will be issued. 74 only. Why? Because here though it is a clear case of fraud. And because whenever section 73-74 comes into picture, no 122 can be levied for the same offence. So 122 will not be levied. Alright ma'am. Now we are saying, let us say Mr. B further issued a fake invoice without actually supplying. So what he did, he utilized this ITC and further issued a fake invoice. See, two things happening here. One, ITC is fake, that is for sure. Now further, if actual supply is done, but ITC only fake utilized, then we are saying demand order under 74 can be issued because fake utilization of ITC has happened, that supply related provision has happened. But if you are further issuing a fake invoice without doing supply, means you are normally doing two offenses here. One, you are utilizing this fake ITC, and second, your further supply is also not actual, your further supply is also fake. Now here we are saying that penalty under section 122 for two offenses will have to be involved. See, because again this person is not doing any supply, there has to be an actual supply for section 74 to be invoked, which is happening here. Mr. B is doing an actual supply but utilizing fake ITC, then provisions of section 74 can be invoked. But if Mr. B is further doing fake supply and utilizing fake ITC, no supply made, now again penalty will be levied from you under section 122, but for two offenses. One, issuing fake invoices, and second, wrong utilization of ITC. So we are simply saying if A is issuing a fake invoice, not doing any supply, then section 73, 74 will cannot come into picture because there is no supply. Penalty under 122 will be levied. Now talking about B, B can do two things. If B is doing an actual supply he is doing but fake ITC is utilizing, you can invoke section 74. In that case, no 122. But if B is further doing fake supply, utilizing fake ITC, then again no supply, no section 74, then under 122, two times penalties will be levied. One, for utilizing fake ITC, and second, for doing fake supplies, issuing fake invoices without actually underdoing any supply. Done. This is all about offences and penalties chapter. As I had mentioned in the beginning only, there is not much to explain, there is much to learn, to remember. We know all of these provisions because we've studied all the other chapters. Now simply you have to read and learn here that if I am not complying with any section that I've already learnt, then what penalty department can levy from me. Okay, then all the best for exams. See you all in some next sessions. Till then, take care and bye-bye everyone.